Shalom. This is your brother Yashamai from the GMS Atlanta camp. Before I get into this message, I want to start off by giving all praises, all glory, and all honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakadash. I want to send double honor to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone who rule and teach well, and a sincere shalom to all you brothers and sisters that subscribe to the 100% truth, which is salvation is only for the true Hebrew Israelites who are the so-called blacks, the natives, and the Hispanics. We have been renamed and we have been operating under the enchantment of Esau Edom, the so-called white man. This lesson is going to be a revisit of the events that took place at the garden. And at the end of this message, the question is going to should be answered. And that question is, who was the snake in the garden? All right, so we're going to get a couple precepts, but first of all, we need to understand that we have been operating under the enchantment. The enchantment that it was an actual snake. We've been operating under the enchantment that Eve ate an apple from the tree when there was no apple mentioned. So let's get those enchantments out and let's start fresh. Let's see what the scriptures say. This is Genesis 3:1. Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Most High Yahweh had made. And he said unto the woman, Yes, as the Most High said, ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden. So a couple things here. We see a serpent, but we also see that the serpent was a creation of the Most High. Okay? So that's a cut against those saying that that the devil does evil. No, this was a creation of the Most High. So one thing that I do want to point out also is we see the way that the attack came. How did the attack come? Because there was a man and there was a woman there, but the snake went up to the woman, and we know that that woman was made as a helper. All right, let's get Genesis 2:18. And the Most High Yahweh said, It is not good that man should be alone. I will make him an help meet for him. So what did the enemy do? The enemy here went after the weaker vessel. And that's exactly how a lot of military operations work. Whenever countries go to war and they plan on the destruction of said country, they don't send a missile, to Putin, or they don't send armies to the capital of said country. They start with the weakest links. Once you find a weak spot in the defense, in the base, you exploit that weakness. And that's exactly what this serpent did. The serpent went to the help. Now, I want to get that word help here. Help, the blue letter for the word help is Izar. Izar. And what that means is help or succor. Help or succor. But that doesn't really that doesn't really do much justice. Let's get another meaning for the word help. Let's get the etymology of the word help. Now, real quick, let's get back to help because it specifies the part of the speech here. It's a masculine noun, all right? It's not a verb that's being used here, it's a noun. And that's a difference because here, when you go to help on the etymology online, there's verb and then there's noun. And we just saw that the word in Genesis 3:1 used was help. Oh, well, Genesis 2, what is that? Genesis 2:18, It was the noun use. Okay, and this means of assistance, help, assistance, or succor, which lines up with the blue letter from the Proto-Germanic help. And then I want to scroll down. This is the one that we're looking for. The use of help as a euphemism for servant is American English. That's the American English word. Help is a euphemism for servant. Now, when I first saw this, I didn't know what a euphemism was. I've heard that word, but just to make sure that I got the full understanding, I dug a little deeper here, as we all should. So the use of help is a euphemism for servant. So what's a euphemism? Euphemism is a mild or indirect word or expression substituted for one considered to be too harsh or blunt when referring to something unpleasant. So basically, it's a nice way of saying something that sounds harsh. For example, downsizing is a euphemism for cuts. So when a company's about to fire a bunch of people, they don't say we're going to make some cuts or we're going to fire people. They say the company is downsizing. Euphemism is a nice way of saying things. So the word help here is a euphemism or a nice way for servant. You see, the snake, the downfall of Yasharallah came was through attacking the weaker vessel, help, the servant. And Yahweh, and the Most High Yahweh said, "It is not good that man should be alone. I will make him a servant meet for him." All right. So let's let's revisit this so that we start to peel those layers back. Genesis 3:1. The serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which Yahweh the Most High had made, and he said unto the servant, "Yes, has the Most High said, ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden." So he's attacking the weaker vessel. Now, according to Ecclesiastes, there is nothing new under the sun. The same thing that has been, will be, and is. So, who is continuously attacking the woman? Who is continuously going to the woman that so that the woman can cause a disruption between the family or a disruption between the standards that Yahweh has set for the world. More importantly, had set for the Israelites to be an example for the world. Who is that? As we continue with this lesson, we're gonna the answer should be clear to us. But continuing on, the next point of focus is it stuck out to me how it said the serpent was more subtle, because for those that know the story, ultimately the serpent here gets cursed, right? It says the serpent is to crawl on its stomach and eat the dirt, right? But it says here the serpent was more subtle. In that curse, it never said anything about the serpent being dumber. So let's get the blue letter on Haya. What does it mean then that the serpent was more subtle? The word is Haya, and that is to be or to become or to come to pass. So which one is it? Is the serpent still a smart animal? Or is that what came to pass? I did a quick Google search and I came up with two lists because, just to show due diligence here. I Googled this, what's the smartest animal, just to see if the snake is considered a smart animal, because I wanted to get I wanted it to really grasp what it meant, what the scripture meant when it said was. And so question that I had was well, maybe the snake is a a smart animal. But as we go through this list here, this is a list of top 15. The snake doesn't show up here. So it's not that the snake is a smart animal, and it's not. Here's a 30, 30 animals in the order of intelligence, and again, the snake does not show up here. So what happened was, it's not that the snake is a smart animal. The term there uh, that that is mentioned in the scriptures, according to the blue letter, was Hayah, and it came to pass. See, so the snake didn't get dumb. So like the snake wasn't smart and then become dumb afterwards. That's not what the curse was. All right, that snake is still very subtle to this day. What happened here was it came to pass. Now the serpent, as it came to pass, was more subtle than any beast of the field. It came to pass because the Most High, because the serpent went, the serpent was able to overcome the thinking of the weaker vessels, train of thought. See, the serpent said unto the woman, "You shall not surely die." It enticed her. It enticed her, you know. So it came to pass that the serpent approached the woman and enticed her and said, "Go ahead and eat of this tree. You're not gonna die. It's gonna make you gods. It's gonna make your life better, you know." And quick scripture that comes to mind is Proverbs 23:7. For as he thinketh in his heart, so is he. Eat and drink, says he to thee, but his heart is not with thee. And that's exactly what happened in the garden. The snake told Eve to eat, you know, that after eating the fruit, you would become gods, that you would that your life would be so much better. And that's exactly what that snake is doing to this day. Again, there's nothing new under the sun. It's still the same modus operandi. He's still telling the women today that they don't need a man, that they can do the same thing a man can do. You know, he's still saying that a woman is more happier when she's by herself as opposed to when she's married, which is a complete falsehood. And I want to bring out here for it says his heart is not with thee. See, the snake was never there to make Eve's life better. The snake never cared about you. And even so, to this day, the snake doesn't care about women's rights. When they pushed that women's rights movement, it wasn't because the snake thought the that the woman was being treated bad. They pushed the women's rights movement because it was more tax income. You know, if they cared about women, why are they letting men box actual women in the Olympic Games? They never cared about you, man. Proverbs 23:7 tells that, but he overcame the women through his philosophy. That's the point that I'm trying to get across. The word was that it came to pass, as we read. And these scriptures, these precepts, show us that the fruit at that tree, like these precepts show us that the tree, the fruits being spoken of, was the philosophy. See, that's what happened. It wasn't some special seed or special breakdown that went into the digestive system of Adam and Eve that caused them to die. The sin here was that Yahweh had planted them many trees, you know, that they could subscribe to, you know, much wisdom and knowledge. But they said, but Yahweh told them, don't eat of this tree. That tree was philosophy, and that's what the sin is. You see, the serpent deceived the women through his philosophy, And the sin was that the woman ate of another philosophy that was not of the Most High. And that's why it's very important to this day that we don't mix wine, or that we don't mix philosophies. Once we understand who we are as a people and who He is as our power, we are called to be separate from the world. We are called to stick to the scriptures, and we are called to be not partakers of the sin of Babylon. Does that sound familiar? It's exactly what Yahweh told Adam and what He told Eve. You can eat of this tree, you know, read this chapter, read this book, but don't eat of that tree. The tree and the ultimate sin was the philosophy of others. Doesn't that make sense? What how did we lose our heritage? How did we lose the name of the Most High? Because we went after other philosophies. Ultimately, it's been the same sin, adultery. It's been adultery through seeking after other gods of the other heathen nations. Solomon did it, and various kings did it. But that's, again, there's nothing new under the sun. Just as we continuously sin by committing adultery, the serpent to this day is is having us to commit that adultery, and one of the biggest ways he does that, he pushes it on Israel, Yasharallah, is that he entices the woman, because any good man of war, any good military operation will show you that in order to topple another economic power, you find the weakest link and you attack it, right? So let's see if we get another scripture here. Proverbs 10 and 16. The labor of the righteous tends to life. The fruit of the wicked tends to sin. Again, the fruit here, just as the fruit mentioned in Genesis 3, the fruit is the philosophy, because Proverbs 10 and 16 shows us that, it's talking about fruit. Man, human beings don't produce fruit, but it's a dark saying. So let's let's try to read this again, and let's replace the word fruit with philosophy. The labor of the righteous tends to life, but the philosophy of the wicked tends to sin. Does that make more sense? Let's see here. Habakkuk 2 and 5. Now, the reason I want to get this precept out here is because, as I mentioned, there's nothing new under the sun. The same way that the subtile snake caused Israel to sin was through offering his philosophy, was to was to enticing the woman to eat of the philosophy of the world, and that's exactly what he's doing to this day. Habakkuk 2 and 5. Who does this sound like? Yes, also because he transgresses by wine. Again, that's philosophy. He's a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlarges his desires hell, and is as death and cannot be satisfied, but gathers unto him all nations and heaps unto him all people. Who does this sound like? Who transgresses by philosophy? Who goes around the country? Who doesn't stay in his own country, but instead goes around the world and tells other countries how they should be? And then, who entices them through good philosophy by saying, you shall become as gods, or you will be just like America, or you will finally be a democratic country. Who continues to entice the world, just as the snake enticed Adam and Eve in the garden? Well, really, as the snake enticed Eve, who then enticed Adam. Who does it? Hopefully the question is starting to um to generate some possibilities. And again, philosophy. Philosophy is the main sin that caused Israel to sin, and the philosophy of this serpent, of this snake, is the same philosophy that the world has drank from. All right, he being that snake has pushed his philosophy on the entire world. Revelations 8 and 18 and 3, for all nations have drunk of the wine. Again, wine is philosophy. And where does wine come from? Wine comes from fruits. You know, you press grapes to create wine. These are all dark sayings, and these dark sayings have been through the Spirit have been revealed to the prophets, according to Amos 3 and 7. Matter of fact, let's go ahead and take a quick break and let's get that. Amos 3 and 7. Surely the Most High Yahweh will do nothing, but He reveals His secret unto His servants the prophets. See, all these scriptures are clicking and they're accentuating each other because these secrets have been re- revealed by Yahweh to His prophets. And who are His prophets? His prophets are the Hebrew Israelites, you so-called blacks, natives, and Hispanics. But let's continue on. So now we understand. Well, no, I've got one more precept. This is Genesis 3 and 6. And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree to be desired to make one wise. Now, what made the tree pleasant to the eyes? What made the tree one tree to be desired? Because she looked at the tree when when the Most High told her, don't eat of this tree, it wasn't desirable then. But what made the tree be desirable when the snake pitched it? Because the snake put that thought of, well, why is it that the woman has to be the servant, or why is it that the woman has to do this but the man doesn't? He put that doubt, and it sounded good. It sounded good, but that's why we have to stay away from other philosophies. Once we understand who we are, it doesn't matter what the world says. It's the equivalent of arguing as to why a semi truck is better than a Lamborghini. They're both completely different vehicles. Yes, they both have four wheels, but the purpose of one and the frame of one is different than the other. The semi truck can carry a heavier load, but the Lamborghini can go to its destination faster. But you can't put the responsibilities of the Lamborghini on a semi truck, and you can't put the responsibilities of the semi truck on a Lamborghini. But but to this day, we still have people arguing this. Not this specific matter, but we still have people saying, why does a woman have to do this and why does a man have to do this? Because we're different vehicles. All right. But the point that I'm trying to make here is that the snake sowed that doubt. The snake sowed the doubt into the head of the woman here. And then all of a sudden, the tree became desirable. It wasn't desirable prior though, but her eyes, once her eyes started to see it, it became desirable. She took of the fruit thereof. So again, the fruit thereof is a philosophy, and did eat, and gave also unto her husband with her, and he did eat. Now, real quick, a quick parallel that comes to mind here of the woman leading the man to sin, which is a very good picture um, of this happening again, is Ahab and Jezebel. Jezebel was doing whatever she wanted to do and was also pushing King Ahab. You know, a man, the man here at this point should have been over his household. And first off, he shouldn't have let another snake talk to his woman, right? So that's very important that we as men of the Most High make sure that our families are in tune with what the truth is, you know, and I'm talking to myself too. We have to make sure that our families understand the wiles and the tricks of this serpent. Do you see? But and I just wanted to bring that parallel up because that's exactly what we see happening here. We see Ahab being fed by Jezebel. Get up and eat. You will surely have blah blah blah's house by the end of today. We see a weak man here, man. But again, it's the serpent. The serpent's modus operandi here was that he went after the weaker vessel. And then how did he go after the weaker vessel? He offered the weaker vessel a different philosophy. And that different philosophy all of a sudden became enticing to her. So now let's read Genesis 3:1. And now that we have peeled another layer of this onion, hopefully this Bible verse begins to come to life more. Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Most High Yahweh had made. And he said unto the woman, or he said unto the servant, or he said unto the weaker vessel, Yes, has the Most High said, You shall not eat of the philosophy of that tree in that garden? Okay, now what I aim to do next here is I aim to look into who that serpent was, because the word here, serpent, according to the blue letters, nachash, nachash, and we have a couple different meanings here, because again, I want to pose the question towards the end: Who is this? Who is the serpent? So, according to here, a serpent, one of the definitions is a serpent or the image of a serpent. So philosophically, a dark saying, or a fleeing serpent, a mythological serpent. So let's see if we can dig a little bit deeper, and let's get the root of that word. And the root of that word is nachash. Now, as we get the word nachash, one of the meanings is someone is to practice divination, or to observe signs, or to learn by experience, or to diligently observe, or to practice fortune telling, or to take as an omen, to practice divination, or to observe the signs or omens. Now, can an actual snake, can an animal practice divination? Can an actual snake observe the signs and tell you when to plant and when to sow, when to buy stocks? Can a snake learn by experience? No. Can a snake diligently observe? Maybe. Yeah. Can a snake practice fortune telling? The answer is no. Damn snake can't practice no fortune telling, man. So then it must not be talking about a literal snake. So the next question should be is, if it's not talking about a snake, because we know a snake can be a fortune teller, we know a snake can be an observer of the times, we know a snake can be a diviner. Could he be talking about like a snake as a person? And I'm going to answer for you. I'm going to answer that for you, and the answer is yes. Because before I get this next one, we need to see that the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field. Now, it mentions beasts of the field. Okay, I just showed you those lists, those two lists, a list of 15 and a list of 30, and both of those lists of the top most intelligent animals, the snake was not there. So now it's starting to come together that it was never a snake, but it was a diviner. A diviner that was more subtle than any beast of the field. So now I'm going to pose to you this. I'm going to pose to you that the diviner was smarter than any other person of the field being the earth. The diviner was more subtle than any other person on the earth which Yahweh had made. Yahweh has Yahweh not made us all? Let's get a couple precepts that show let's get a couple precepts that show the Most High referencing um or referencing the other nations as animals. Because why does the Most High do this? The reason the Most High references other nations as animals is because in the eyes of the Most High, they are as animals. Why? Because they do whatever they want. And that's exactly what Esau pushes. Uh, that's exactly what the snake pushes to this day. He do as thou will. That Aleister Crowley spirit, you know. But let's get some precepts here. Let's get I was as the bah, I was as a beast without the law. Things like there you go. This is the psalmist David. So foolish was I and ignorant. I was as a beast before thee. Matter of fact, let's get a couple verses back. As a dream when one awakes, so, O Yahweh, when you awakes, you shall despise their image. Thus my heart was grieved, and I was picked in my reign. So the psalmist here felt bad. So foolish was I. Once he woke up, so foolish was I and ignorant. I was as a beast before thee. Now, was the psalmist David? Was he in? Was he being an actual beast? Was he being an actual cow? No, he was being lawless. You know that's what it's talking about. He was being lawless. Matter of fact, I think in Ezekiel 9 or Ezekiel 10. See Ezekiel. Well, no, possibly Ezekiel 9. I don't want to. 6 men with glory, and he called the writer. No, that's not them. It's for the city. There's another chapter in Ezekiel where the Most High shows Ezekiel all of the foul beast that they are that Israel is committing. Matter of fact, Paul um uh, uh, in the story of Acts, um I believe Paul was shown that curtain that came down that had all manner of beasts. Matter of fact, Acts uh, Acts go eat, KJV. Okay, Acts 10. Let's get Acts 10. View chapter 10:13. Verse 10 and 3. He saw a vision, evidently about the ninth hour, the day an angel, blah blah blah. He lodged his semen, boom. He said on the morrow he became, boom. Let's get 11. And saw heaven opened, and a certain vessel descending unto him, as it had been a great sheet knit at the four corners. So we see a big sheet and let down to the earth come down, wherein were all manner of four-footed beasts of the earth, and wild beasts, and creeping things, and fowls of the earth, of the air. So in this vision, Paul sees all these animals, all these foul beasts. And there came a voice to him, Rise, Peter, kill and eat. But Peter said, Not so, Yahweh, for I have never eaten anything that, that is common or unclean. So as we as we have all read through this story, Yahweh wasn't trying to defile Peter. He as Peter goes and meets with Cornelius, Cornelius being a Israelite, a Gentile, Peter understands that all those beasts was Yahweh telling him to go out to the Gentiles. So the Most High even considers the Israelite Gentiles, us really, He considers us as beasts because for a while we were lawless, just like the psalmist said. We were without his law. We were eating pork. We were doing whatever we wanted to do. We were dressing how we wanted. We were calling on false gods. We were practicing every holiday. We were as beasts, right? Compare our lives now with the 100% truth and compare our lives back to before we woke up. And we were living like beasts. Like we were living like wild animals. Matter of fact, let's get let me see, Nebuchadnezzar King Dream. Nebuchadnezzar Tree Dream. And this is the last one. Tree Dream. What was Nebuchadnezzar's? Daniel 2. I think it was Daniel 4. Let's see. Daniel 4. Because in the book of Daniel, came magicians, holy. Okay, here you go. Nevertheless, the stump of its roots. This is the tree. Okay, so this is a vision that Nebuchadnezzar has. Thus were the visions of my head in my bed. This is verse 10. I saw and behold a tree in the midst of the earth, and the height thereof was great. The tree grew and was strong, and the height thereof reached unto heaven, and the sight thereof to the end of all the earth. The leaves of that tree were fair, and the fruit thereof much, and in it was meat for all the beasts of the field. Does that sound familiar? The the serpent was more subtle than any other beast of the field. It's the same verbiage here. But let's continue on. And it was meat for all the beasts of the field, and had shadow under it, and the fowls of the heaven dwell in the boughs thereof, and all flesh was fed of it. So that's his dream. So now let's see. Let's see how Daniel interprets that dream. Let's go to 21. Well, let's start at 20. The tree that thou sawest, which grew and was strong, whose height reached unto heaven, and the sight thereof to all the earth, whose leaves were fair, and the fruit thereof much, and was meat for all, under which the beasts of the field dwell, and upon whose branches the fowls of the heaven had their habitation. It is you, O king. You are grown and become strong, for your greatness is grown and reaches unto heaven, and your dominion to the end of the earth. Okay, so as we see here, Nebuchadnezzar is the tree, and because his kingdom had expanded so largely that the other beasts of the field were taking shade underneath his tree. The beasts of the field were the other nations. Okay, so the Most High references other nations and even Israelite Gentiles as beasts. So beasts of the field, one needs to be able to interpret it through wisdom and understanding that sometimes beasts of the field are other humans. Okay? So now let's circle back here and let's read Genesis 3 and 1 now that we have the full understanding here. And we're gonna replace the words with what the meanings are. Now the diviner was more subtle than any other person of the world which Yahweh had made. And he said unto the woman, he said unto the servant, he said unto the weaker vessel, yes, has the Most High said, ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden? It was a person. It was a person who was more smarter, more wiser than any other person in the world. So now I pose a question to you. Who is that person now? Because that person is mentioned in the book of Revelations. Let me see. Revelation 12 and 9. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil, and Satan, which deceives the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. So who is it? Because the that snake has grown now. That snake, that serpent went from a snake to a powerful dragon in the book of Revelation. So who is that serpent? Who is that snake? Who is who is pushing different philosophies that we have never heard of on our women? Who is pushing these philosophies on our children? Who's pushing certain agendas on TV? Who controls the TV? Who controls the radio? Who controlled the newspapers before, and now who controls social media? Who has controlled the world? That's where the word subtitle comes in. Who has been the wisest and has been able to control the world to push philosophies on the weaker vessel and even Israelites? Because, you know, there are some men that are actually weaker than some women, you know? But the question is posed, who is doing this? Who's pushing other philosophies on us? Who says that the woman is equal to a man? Who says that a woman can raise a kid on her own and that there's no difference? Who says that a man can be with another man? Matter of fact, who tries to push it on other countries, and then if they don't accept that agenda, they cut their funding from it. Or if you don't accept their um their proposals, they just overthrow you. Who gives you those? Who has these philosophies? The snake in that garden was Esau Edom. That's the answer. It wasn't an actual snake, and there was no apple that was eaten. The sin here was adultery, and I say spiritual adultery because the tree that they ate of was a philosophy of this world. All right. I hope this lesson has been edifying. And with that, I say shalom. Shalom.